No need to do any intros or anything like that. And we're recording.
Hello, everybody.
So, we're here. Welcome to Taking 5. Not Take 5. You might have thought it was Take 5 beforehand because we said that it was Take 5 beforehand.
You just couldn't hear the
You just
the
couldn't hear
silent ing.
You just couldn't hear the ing in the background. Yeah, it was like Taking 5 is kind of what I was saying. We're here. We have some very special guests in here.
Woo-woo.
They go by the name of Juniper. They're a band. How long have you guys been a band for?
We've been a band for, we started in the spring of 2017.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So 2 years basically.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a long run.
Yeah,
That's a really
yeah.
long
It's
run.
decent. Yeah,
You guys
definitely.
are probably done soon, honestly. Like you probably got like 6
Oh,
months
no
left.
way, man. No way.
No,
Josh
obviously not.
was.
Obviously not. So,
So encouraging.
Juniper, they're great. You guys are what, like 20, 21?
I turned 20 in like 5 days. Yeah,
That's-
so like
oh my
19.
God,
Yeah.
holy
Happy
shit.
End of August for
birthday.
me too.
Oh
yeah.
man, I feel
Thanks.
so old right now. Okay, so
You're only 24. That's
I
okay.
am old. That's fine though.
Dude,
We'll
24
get to
is
that
so
later.
young. You're chilling.
So you guys are Boston-based, Wellesley specifically. I've listened to all your stuff. I actually have a confession to make.
Word.
I heard your new album.
Oh,
It's not out. It's not out, right?
no.
not
Okay,
out
so
yet.
we definitely need an Okay, this is where we're
Yeah.
going to need an explanation.
We do
Okay.
have to
Yeah.
get deep into this.
Okay, so
Small world
Jay
stories.
Felito.
Yeah, right.
Jay Felito. So to catch the listener, the dedicated listeners up, there's this guy Jay Felito. He owns a small studio in Brighton, Massachusetts called My Lady on Fire, which is where Juniper, these two guys, Scott and Cam, finished recording.
Yeah, in the process of.
Pretty
In the
much.
process. It
pretty
sounded
much.
pretty finished.
Yeah,
it
it's-
sounded like just like some
Yeah.
last.
Good to hear.
Yeah, in a good way. in a
Super,
good way.
super small tweaks. We're pretty much done.
Super-
Okay,
Just like
I'm
the-
jealous because I haven't heard the album.
Well, I mean,
God.
I'm probably
So
other than
Sorry,
you guys.
man.
I'm like, it's like the
I mean,
rare
it
one of.
sounds like there was a sneak preview that we didn't even know
No,
about.
it was literally
so.
just me and Jay and then Jim. Those
Yeah.
are the only ones there.
Oh,
so,
Jim too? Fuck
yeah,
yeah,
so
dude,
Jim
yeah.
too. So I like got linked up with Jay like a couple months ago. So I was a mechanical engineer before. Everyone who's listened to the podcast is sick of this for sure, but I was a mechanical engineer before I got into music.
You were?
And when I know, crazy. And when I got into music, I just like basically applied to like every studio in Boston. And the first one that got back to me was Jay at this little studio, My Lady on Fire. And so I went in for an interview, and I walked in, and my resume was just like engineering. Like that's all I had. I didn't have any music on it or anything like that. And so I gave him my resume, and we like started talking. And after like 3 minutes, he just like stopped me. He was like, "Yo, so like, are you like actually serious about this? Because you have like no experience."
That sounds really like
I
something
swear
that,
that
you would
I
say.
am. But anyway, so I just kind of like left. It was like not a great. It was definitely like, oh shit, this is gonna be harder than I thought to get into.
Damn,
but
yeah.
full circle, like a couple months later, and I wound up here instead. But a couple months later, he reached back out to me and was like, hey, so like. Things have been a bit slower at the studio lately. We've just been working with mainly one band, who I didn't know at the time was you guys. But like, you know how he has the wedding band too.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Do you want to like do some live sound for us?" So that's what I've been doing. So I've gotten to know him over the past few weeks. And then there was
That's
one
awesome.
like
That's really
random
cool.
Wednesday, like a month ago, where he like texted me the day before. He was like, "Hey, are you free tomorrow night? Like I have some random like mixing work that we're doing that you can like sit in on if you guys want, if you want." And I was like, "For sure. Like I'd love the experience." So I met Jim, who's another guy who works with this guy, Jay. And they're talking about this like new band that they have, and they're like, "Oh, they're so great. They're all so young. Like they're really good. They're like really into this. Like they've been spending a ton of time here." And we're basically like in the final process of mixing. So I heard like literally the
That's
entire
awesome
album.
to hear. That's super sick to hear.
And it was really good. It was
Yeah.
really good. What's do you know what it's called yet?
Yes, but you don't.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the album is
Keep
called.
it on the covert
I
level.
like
The
it.
biggest thing I can keep from you now is just the title.
all
So
right.
you
Wanted
heard
some sort of leverage.
I know
Heard
a lot
the
of
whole
song
little
names, though.
mystery, a little
All right, all
mystery. But to complete the circle for the listeners, as I told kind of you guys this, but the reason I know Cam and Scott is because I went to high school with them.
Right.
So I knew them when like Scott was doing Fullerbrook Zoo. I don't know if you were ever in.
What is
Cam,
that?
Fullerbrook Zoo. It's actually the band before Juniper, which
yeah.
was.
Every-
the prototype before like the.
Every good
Yo,
band has the prototype.
I
for
love
sure.
Fullerbrook Zoo. I was a huge fan, but I also do love Juniper now. Like, I really like your guys' new sound.
Yeah,
but-
Fullerbrook Zoo is like the vibe jam band of like a bunch of high school friends.
Right.
And then Juniper is kind of like that same energy, but then a little bit more professional and like
Yeah.
with like means of like kind of going a little bit farther.
Right.
Or actually maybe a lot bit farther.
With
in
the
that
intent
regard.
to go further, too,
Yeah.
definitely.
So to be honest, like from what I heard and from the stuff you guys have on Spotify, like I am shocked that you guys are 19 and 20. Like, at least you're singing, and you guys are the two main singers, right? And then there's a girl as well, right, who sings?
She's kind of like an auxiliary member. So like
Okay,
she is like another good friend of ours, and she has been like sometimes like helping out with writing songs with us, but really like she just like we love the way she sounds on some songs. And so like we're like, hey, like if you want to sing on some stuff, like we'd love to have you.
Right.
So like she's not like in the band, but she like helps out when she can.
Cool. And she's on Staring Across the Water, which is like the big song.
Yeah, well, so it's actually kind of funny. There's been a couple of different girls that have like female vocalists that have stepped in, and so that female vocalist actually is not in the band. Right? Yeah, I know. So we've had like 2 to 3. So right now we actually have 2 female auxiliary vocalists.
Okay.
I know this
Just
is a lot to
on call,
swallow.
basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. And then
Breakdown.
and then the previous girl is now doing her own thing.
Okay.
Musically, but
Cool.
yeah.
That's sick. So like, how does that work out? Because that's okay. So Staring Across the Water is like obviously stream wise your biggest song. It says like 200,000 streams or something like that.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
Really cool. A couple questions. One, how did that like happen? Like, was that surprising to you guys? Did you market it a ton? Did you just wake up one day and you're like, oh my god?
I actually remember getting a call from Scott with the news that he had gotten on that playlist, and you were like almost in tears. You were like freaking out that this song had gotten on this playlist, and it was. It was a big playlist, resulting in like a lot of streams too. So it was like it definitely was a big moment.
What, did you submit it to the playlist, or did it just Spotify picked it up?
Well, so Staring Across the Water came out on an EP in the fall of 2017.
Okay.
And actually, like that iteration of the band is no longer like so I'm the only remaining member from that time. So it's like Cam came on board like within the past calendar year. So like the new unit has kind of been like fresh and new, but like we've just been like creating so much output. That like it's been kind of cool like to follow up on that EP with like this full album coming out. But so that EP comes out say fall 2017, but then it's about maybe like 11, 12, even like 13 months later when like it's at around like 8,000 listens from like us just sending it out to bloggers and promoters and like like Submit Hub. Like there's all these different platforms you can just email the song through, and then it goes up there on live and like people can look at it and share it. But at the end of the day, like we got onto a Discover Weekly playlist on Spotify.
That's pretty
So that was really that was really cool.
It was really
So we didn't like submit anything because it was already released. And so, like, in order to do that, you have to submit it pre-release, which we didn't know. But I didn't even think that was even an option back in fall of 2017. So, but yeah, so we got under Discover Weekly playlist, and since then, it's just been like pretty exponential.
So was it was it really like it's one day that you have like 500 listens, and then the next day you have like 10,000, or was it much more gradual?
It's much more gradual, and I think it's interesting too because you would think it would be like overnight, like, oh my god, I got 10 voicemails and like we're blowing up. It's like we're in a mall and we're on the radio, like like that movie kind of shit. Like it's not really like that.
Movie moment.
Because like everything is like a reaction, So like one person will listen and be like, oh, this is so sick. Let me send that to my friend, and then like that needs to have a reaction. Like it's like there's like a lag time a little bit. But like instead of it being like 500, 10,000, it's maybe like 500 to then like 2,500. So
Which is still that's 5 times.
And that lag time is cool sometimes though, because like yes, it's almost like amazing if it blew up overnight and you have that like movie moment where you're hearing it like in a public establishment, but it's like watching people get into it and watching people like come up to you and tell you their honest opinions and what they like is like, I don't know. That's the cool part for me, definitely.
Do you guys find that like checking on it is a cool feeling too? Like just seeing like
Spotify
it
for
go
artists,
up and go up and go up and
Yeah,
go up.
definitely seeing monthly listeners like go up is definitely a fun one.
It is kind of a rabbit hole at the same time though, and I feel like it's like you got to play it's a dangerous game because if you're only relying on like every morning you're waking up and you're checking your phone and you're like, all right, how many streams? Like, and if that happens, if like say you have like 50 streams one day, that can be pretty discouraging if you're looking at it every day. And so like streams are cool because it's like rewarding. It's like actual, like high volume, like we're looking at like what people are doing. But at the end of the day, like if we're not confident about it, then like nothing matters. And if we are confident about it, then nothing else matters as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like it's almost like blindly going forward, but like with the mindset of like it is kind of cool to get that validation that people are like believing in what we're doing too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I guess taking it back to the beginning. So because this is a question I like to ask all the musicians on our
here it
podcast.
goes.
Oh, here it goes. Oh, Jesus. All right, here starts like the next like hour of like we're gonna get through
This
2
takes
years
so
of your guys'
long.
lives.
This
No,
takes
no,
so
I fine
long.
tune the process. It'll get better. We're gonna be great. Okay, how did you guys first get into music? I guess we'll start with you.
Scott.
So, like my family has been very musical. Whether that be just like hanging out in the living room and like watching like old documentaries of like bands, like Beatles stuff, like classic rock, like all that stuff is like definitely in the wheelhouse for me. And so like I just kind of grew up listening to like also like Motown, and so like I've kind of had like an eclectic palette like for a long time.
Right.
And so I think that is like been aiding a lot in like our songwriting too. But I think so. I've been like a big music guy like for a long time.
Right.
And then I first met Cam actually when because in high school I started off as more like doing sports oriented kind of guy, and I was like, so I was a big basketball guy. I played soccer too.
Huge sports guy.
Yeah, big sports guy.
So many sports.
Big sports gay. But at the same time, I also like was always passionate about music, but that wasn't always like well received, especially like in the place where we grew
High
up.
school musical action
yeah,
there.
a little
Troy,
bit.
what's the last name?
Troy
Troy
Bolton, I think it is,
Bolton.
right? Yeah.
Scott is the Troy Bolton.
All he
of
wants
Wellesley
to
High
all he
School.
wants to do is
No
sing
way.
theater,
No way.
but his basketball buddies won't allow him.
Come on,
just
dude.
wanted to
I just
sing.
want to sing, but I have to
Just wants
practice
to
my
sing.
3.
Yeah, no, but I met Cam the first time I ever did. I went out for a musical theater in the fall. The production was Grease.
Woo!
And yeah, Kate was in
I
that
was
too.
in that show,
Yeah, she
Ensemble,
was.
baby.
Yeah, she
Kate.
crushed. Yeah, she crushed.
Kate's little known musical theater background.
My
she
little,
crushed.
my little toe dip.
Wait,
into
who'd
the-
you guys play?
I was ensemble.
Okay, Scott, what were you?
I was Kaniki, and hence Cam was Danny. So we played best friends on
They were
stage.
the hot shots.
shit.
Let's be
It
honest.
was a good
here.
combo. It was a good combo.
And so like, and then from then, like, I was like, whoa, musical theater is so sick.
Right.
And I was like, this dude is so sick. And then and then he tried out, and then he auditioned for a group that I was already in, which was called Rice Street, which was a vocal jazz group.
Okay.
And like pretty high caliber, but like a lot of fun, really good environment. And he got in, and then we were both tenors, and so like we sat right next to each other, and then the rest is like on Wikipedia somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Russ.
Do you guys have Wikipedia?
No, no.
gotta get one.
Someone
You
needs
make
to
one.
make one for us.
Maybe we'll make one after. Oh, live.
Right?
Let's live
Let's
make
live
Juniper's
make up Wikipedia.
That makes the
right
podcast
now.
too.
we need
Very
like the
interesting.
info history, members. We can have a past members page.
We just have to get
Yeah.
one of those apps that transcribes like words and just have it transcribe this podcast
Yeah.
onto
Yeah,
it.
literally.
It will have it will make no sense. It'll be in complete, not chronological order. And it
It'll
will
literally be just like
perfect.
our shout outs halfway through the sentences.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you're both singers, obviously. So I always have a question. I've heard both of you guys sing, both lovely voices. How dope is it to have a lovely voice? Like, is it just, do you just like,
Because Josh would
do you
know.
just like, I would not know. Like, do you just like wake up sometimes you're just like, I'm tired.
like sing
that's
to the
you know what I
birds?
mean?
Do you
Like-
just like wake up and sing to the birds
Just
in the
like,
morning?
yeah, and the birds. Like, what's that cartoon where the bird used to,
You mean Snow White?
Yes, that's a cartoon. That is a cartoon. But seriously and not seriously, you know what
No,
I mean?
that's a good point. It's interesting you say that too, because like the more, and it's like definitely, I think that it's most prevalent with like vocal skill, but like any musical skill will land you in the room with people who also have musical skill.
That's true.
And also have the potential to be better than you. So like on one hand, it is so amazing to know on a certain level that you're talented to an extent.
Sure.
But also like the presence of other people and the presence of other really, really, really good people is one really humbling.
Yeah.
But like definitely in a good way. Like
Yeah,
it definitely
yeah.
like definitely in a way, and it's especially like a band is always a setting. It's it's always a very cohesive setting. It's a very
Right.
creative setting. So anyone that you really bring in the room, anyone that you surround yourself with, like really also loves that creative process.
Right.
Definitely. So like having skill there and like having skill that like isn't yours is like definitely really really
That's
cool.
true.
But like definitely knowing that like you're talented is definitely a good feeling.
It is cool.
Feeling. Good
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
So circling back, Cam, how did you get into music?
How did I get into music? I was a little more resilient. I think it's interesting that you mentioned music taste, because like I think that's definitely what definitely influences a lot of people's like interpretation of music and what type of music that they like. But my first run-in with like this type of music was my first I I think it was like my 8th birthday or something. But my dad had gotten me the first generation iPod Nano, like that the square one with like the glass back almost, like
that was the shit.
the real old
OG.
one.
That's
yeah.
OG.
Did
Yeah.
you guys ever have the like big, thick, giant iPods?
Oh, it's the
Sheet thick
164
with 2
gig
seats.
ones.
Yeah.
They weigh
Yeah,
40
Yeah, it was like
pounds
4
or
Yeah,
pounds.
something.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you dropped it, it was like you needed a case to protect the floor. It wasn't for the iPod.
It's like the Nokia version of an iPod.
Yeah. But my
great.
dad had actually put like his whole like music library on that iPod like prior to giving it to me. So like I had all this classic rock.
Right.
Like I had like the Eagles and like all these like
And you instantly were like,
instantly,
this is great.
yeah, like this is great music. How could you not think that?
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
with-
I have the
with all
same,
this
but I think a
classic
lot
rock.
of people. Well, I don't know. I think it takes everyone different amount of times. Like, I definitely didn't get into rock music at all until like 7th or 8th grade.
Really?
Because I just never heard it.
That's fair.
That was
yeah.
the thing. And
Yeah.
but for me, it was like as soon as I did hear it, although actually like, and I think a lot of people like the first time I heard "Stairway to Heaven," I was like, "This is boring.
the
Like,
fuck?
this
I
this
was
song
like-
sucks." You know what I mean? Now it's like my favorite song ever. But
Yeah.
I think it does take people. Sometimes I think people just hear it and instantly are like, "Wow, yep, this is it." I think
Yeah.
sometimes it takes people a little bit longer to get into it.
It took my brother doing the whole give me an iPod. Like, he gave me a flash drive with a bunch of rock music on it in 6th grade. And, like, I was listening to, like, Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, you know?
course.
Which can't hate on my girls. I still love
No,
them. But
shout out
it was, like,
Katy Perry and Taylor Swift.
honestly,
Come
love
on,
Well,
Come
that's
on
the
the
sad part.
podcast.
Is like they're not terrible. Like those like such radio friendly, pop friendly artists are not bad.
It's
But
just
it's
there's
like
better.
you see the look on people's faces when they hear a song that like isn't a 4-chord progression, and
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
It's like,
You're
come
just
on, you know what I
this-
mean?
This,
Like,
this
it's-
could be a standard.
this has
People
been
just
here
aren't
the whole
accepting it
time.
as the standard.
I think people get
Yeah.
confused at first. They're like, wait, that chord's not. That doesn't make sense. Like, that's not supposed
Why?
to. Go there.
There's
yeah.
That's
multiple
supposed to
instruments
resolve, right?
playing
I know,
during
yeah,
the
yeah,
song.
But anyway, sorry, we distracted from you.
that's all good. But yeah, I
gonna
mean like that. Yeah, the iPod was definitely a big formulative moment. Other than that, I mean, like I always really loved to sing around the house. I was just like would sing to myself. But I like definitely was one of those kids who knew that I liked music, but like for some odd reason was very resistant to like doing anything
To pursue it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because like singing requires you music, but singing in general requires you to really put yourself out there in like a lot of ways.
Right.
That's uncomfortable to some people.
For sure.
So it really eventually came down to me repeatedly saying no to any venture into the arts until my mom like literally forced me, like wrote, like signed me up without telling me for this local production, like this local theater production, which is hilarious because that's actually the production where I met one of my best friends who recorded the original piano track on Regret.
Oh, it's a little
And
full
that-
circle
Wow.
here.
Yeah, so Will Fulgenetti, shout out Will Fulgenetti if you're
Fulgie.
listening
Shout
to
out.
this, was actually
Will
the
Fulgenetti.
original
Wait, his name is
Sorry.
Willful?
creator.
Will Fulgenetti.
Will space Fulgenetti.
Fulge.
What did you think it was?
Willful. Like his name was
Willful?
Willful. like Wilfred, but willful.
And then last name Janetti.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyways.
But yeah, I mean that's really how it was born. It was really like, I mean, I always had a love for it, but I was always I don't know, I was always a bitch, I guess is the easiest way to say it, until my mom finally had no more of it, and
she was like,
she said you're
Mama
going.
I will
Ayer.
have no bitch first.
Come
She said
in.
you're going.
Mom, how could you embarrass me in front of my friends?
So did you were you confident? Did you like kind of know you could sing, but weren't? Because I feel like I've found like two styles of singer. Well, several styles of singer, but one is the person who's really good, but is like, oh no, like I'm terrible, like I'm never gonna be like that. And then one is the person who's really bad and thinks that they're really good.
That's true. I definitely didn't, because the hardest part about musical theater is like, I love like musical theater personally. Like I think it's a great art form, but like some of the best singers in musical theater, I would not go see in concert, just because like the style of musical singing, like musical theater is just like, it's like you're presenting a story, you know what I mean? It's not like stylistically, like the pain and emotion is delivered mostly through the words and not through the way that you're singing it.
Right.
Whereas like when you're singing a pop tune, you're not going to be like, your story hasn't been set up over like an hour and a half and multiple musical scores. So it's
Right.
like there's so much more unsaid energy in like when you write pop songs.
Yeah.
Or not pop songs, but like non-musical theater songs when you're writing your own songs.
Exactly. It's not so much
songs
in
for
the words.
listening, not for really watching.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like, I think that there's like so much more of like an attitude in conventional music writing where it's just like, if you don't like it, sorry. Whereas
sure.
like as like
Sucks.
yeah, and it's like, but it's interesting though because you think about musical theater and there's so much more of like the advertising wave of musical theater. I don't know. I don't want to get myself too far down the rabbit hole, but like there's so many things
We
We
explore
go
all
far.
angles in this
so
show.
different about the two. And it ultimately comes down to the fact that like if I liked musical theater, I'd still be doing it.
Right. Exactly. I think at a certain point you make a choice. Of course,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
like it. You
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
I suppose you could do both to a certain point. So you guys are both in college, right?
Yeah.
Where at? Keep
I'm at Boston University right
Hey,
now.
shout out,
I
shout out
forgot you
BU, shout out
transferred.
Terriers.
I go to
Shout
James
out.
Madison University.
Shout out James Madison, founding father. Yeah. No, maybe.
He
Even-
was,
even if he wasn't, I don't think
he was
anyone
a
would
part
know.
of it. He was a part of the Constitution. Of the
Okay, yeah.
Convention,
He's one of the guys.
Yeah.
What was it? Is that the?
You know what,
Is
Josh?
this second president?
I don't. I think we should
James
stop
Madison?
that
Actually,
way.
wait. All right.
Sets
What the person who
fifth?
doesn't go to James Madison? What president was James Madison? What number president?
Are you
What is
asking
trivia?
me?
I'm asking anyone. Does anyone know?
James Monroe.
I think the person who
James
does go to
Monroe
James
was
Madison
4.
doesn't know
Like
which
trivia,
president.
just state of where we all at in our history knowledge. Does
I wanna
anyone know
say-
what
I
number?
purposely chose
James
that not
Madison,
as
I want to say like
I want to say
sixth.
5.
I think James
Yeah.
Madison was 5 or 6, but I think he was. James
wait.
Monroe was 4.
George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James
Wait.
Monroe.
Wait, where was John Quincy Adams?
John Quincy Adams isn't until the
further down.
1820s.
Further down.
I just know there's John Adams and John Quincy
You're
Adams.
fast tracking right now, Josh.
This
Bring it
guy
in,
isn't
bring it in.
guessing the presidents.
No, I haven't taken a history class in a very long time.
Okay, so
right.
anyway,
Go James.
I
go
gotta
James.
stop with 4. That's not gonna.
That's okay.
We won't get any
Okay,
further.
so in college, are you in college for music? Or are you in college for other stuff?
Other stuff. Yeah,
Oh, other stuff.
I'm majoring in international relations with
it.
a functional focus. So yeah, it's like these are weird words, but like so I'm essentially focusing on environment and development
Cool.
in the Middle East and North Africa.
Oh, tight.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know, right?
I feel really inadequate with my art photography degree right here.
That's
but-
fine.
No.
I'm undeclared, so you guys have it over all of me.
No, undeclared is the way to go.
Yeah.
You're also going to sophomore year, right?
Yeah.
That's a year.
Oh,
back.
you
You're
guys
fine.
are
You're
so
totally
cool.
fine.
So he's going to be a sophomore. I'm going to be a junior.
You're gonna be a junior.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you got it a little more figured out. You'll have it figured out at that
Yeah,
point.
I'll
And
be
then you'll graduate, and then you'll completely unfigure out
Of
everything
course.
that you figured out.
Of course.
already.
Or I'll
Obviously.
figure it out in like 6 months, and then 9 months later I'll unfigure
You'll-
it
yeah,
out.
you'll-
Or you'll
and then
figure
3
it out
months later
again.
I'll figure it out again.
Just perpetually figure
I'll go
it
in
out.
cycles.
So
We're
where do you
perpetually
guys
figuring
envision
it out.
music being in your life? Like, would you do the band thing full time if you had the opportunity? Do you think that it's just something that's going to be a hobby?
That's an interesting question because, like, you know, I've had a couple people ask me, like, because, like, what you just said really boils down to, like, what does it mean to you?
Right.
It's like, if it doesn't mean all the things that you want it to, like, do you still want to do it? You know?
Right.
And the answer is, of course, like, the answer is definitely. Like,
Yeah.
when I first started this, you know, everyone wants to be famous, but, like if you, like, and people like playing in a band, but, like, playing in a band, like, sucks sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's late nights and it's not a lot of money sometimes, and it's like, you know, there are certain negative things about it, but like I think, and definitely I think Scott can attest to this, but like if we didn't absolutely love it, and like if we like wouldn't do it for free without question, that we don't have to, luckily, but like I think we all would do it for free without question because
Right.
because we love it so much.
Yeah. But at a certain point, it becomes like, because right now you're in college, you're doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to rely on this, right? This is just like, yeah, it's fun. We're doing it. If we make money, that's even better.
Yeah.
And you are, which is great. But at a certain point, like, I feel like people sort of have to make that decision for themselves. Like, is this something that I would be willing to drop everything else and just like go on tour and like do these crazy nights and like scrounge enough money to make by until we either make it big or get sick of each other?
Yeah.
Do you think, obviously you don't necessarily know this right now, but do you envision that being something you'd be willing to try? I guess, Cam, you kind of gave your answer.
Yeah, I mean, the quick thing I'd say is like definitely we would want to like avoid going into it super blindly.
Right.
But like I think that like when it comes down to it, is if we see that spark, I think that like everyone in this band is like incredibly passionate to the point where like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we get it, we go get it.
Would you echo that, Scott?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it does come down to how much you love it, and I think it also comes down to like diversifying yourself, not only like as like a human, but as like a musician itself. Because like there's a lot of different avenues that you can take as a musician if you want to be in the industry. You know,
Right.
like I mean, here we are right now doing a podcast.
Right.
And, like, you know, you were talking earlier about you were wanting to be like a sound engineer at like My Lady on Fire. So like there's a lot of different like things that come with the industry. But I think, you know, with us being 19 right now and us having like the privilege like to be in college right now and like
Right.
have these like 3-4 month summers and like this time to like be able to focus on this, I think
Right.
like with what we have going, it'd be stupid not to like fully run with it for the time
Definitely.
being, you know. And I
Yeah.
think like that answer will always kind of be Morpheus, so it's always going to kind of be changing.
Yeah.
But because I think like ask me that when I'm 24,
Right.
you know, like it's a different answer. I think.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah,
depends on the
You
music.
got to consider
release.
different things too, definitely.
So being at, so you guys obviously don't go to the same school. So like during the school year though, how does the band work? Like are you working on stuff? Like are you writing songs? Are you coming up with different, I don't know, beats? Is that what
Yeah,
the cool kids say?
people ask us a lot because like that is definitely like a real like thing that we have to deal with. But at the same time, like I always view this as a positive because it's almost like an off season, and so you know like people will say like, oh well, like how can you guys even be a band if like you guys don't even go to school together? But the thing is like we all live in the same area like when we're not at school, and so you have like a 4-month summer and then
Right.
a month in the wintertime, and then you have like a week or two of like spring break. One of the guys like the drummer goes to a Jesuit school, so he has like an Easter break too. That's like also like a week long. So like
Ooh.
2 weeks arguably in the spring semester. You got a fall semester, and if it's a big show, you fly back for it. And in the meantime, when you're not together, it's like heavy focus on songwriting, heavy
Right.
focus on like the business promotional kind of stuff. So like it's actually nice because then like we can kind of delegate our energy so that when we are together, it's like recording,
We're just
playing
recording,
live.
just playing.
Yeah. So like it actually ends up working out, and it, like so thus far it's been working out.
Kind
That's
of
good.
streamlines the process almost.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you
it
have
really
different,
does.
you have like different times of the year to focus on different parts of your music.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So like you can cool off a little bit too.
Yeah.
And it's hard because like
Chill out.
we view ourselves as artists, but it's like because we are like struggling artists in like a financial way, like we also kind of have to view ourselves as like businessmen and view like Juniper as like also like a business. And I don't want to do that because I think like those are two pretty conflicting mentalities, like an artist versus like a businessman. But I think like we at the end of the day, like coming back to that question of like, you know, like what do you guys see yourselves doing? It's like at the end of the day, like as long as we're passionate about what we're doing and we believe, like the 5 of us believe in what we're doing, like anything else is going to fall into place. And like I believe that.
That's dope.
Yeah, I believe that.
That's some inspirational
That's
talk
yeah,
right
write
there.
that shit down.
Hell
That's
yeah.
going on the Wikipedia page for sure.
Yeah, we need
That's
we need a
going-
plaque for that.
On Pinterest.
Yeah, I think what you guys said is super valid. I don't like. I think that a lot of artists do kind of have to be business people in a sense. In fact, most do, unless you have like a manager. But so like our
No,
our
nobody has to
studio
have that.
manager here, shout out Brittany.
Brittany!
She's gotta come on the podcast, Brittany. We're upset with her.
We're
right
pushing
now.
her.
where's
for
Brittany
that.
at?
Pushing her. She's
Where's
she's
Brittany at?
Soon,
She's
yeah.
doing her thing. She's managing.
She is living her life.
She's just managing so hard
She's
right now.
managing so
but
hard.
she always says that like basically as a musician, like as a professional musician or someone in the music industry, like you have to be an entrepreneur in order to really make it. Like not only like you can be a producer, you can be a songwriter, you can be a singer, you can be a photographer, you can be any of these types of roles, but like you have to almost like do more than that. You have to like innovate in some sense and like figure out what you can bring to the table that like other people cannot. And in a sense of like the band where you're out there and you're like, you know, you guys are really good. I've heard your music. Like I don't doubt that your music is good enough to like be right up there with other top artists, but it's
Hell
just like
yeah.
how do you get your shit heard and like how do you kind of innovate, and like a lot of that comes down to like image and shit like that.
It's excessive
too.
pluralism too, man. Like at this rate, like I could go walk across the street to that music store and buy like 3 microphones in the interface, walk back to my place, and I could record anything I want to, pay a $20 subscription, and put it up on Spotify a week
true.
later.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. And so like that's great because like hell yeah, man, more
Yeah.
musicians is way better than less musicians.
Right.
Yeah. But if you're trying to like make this a living and like depending
Right.
on what your aspirations are, like oh like I want to be like co-writing a song with John Mayer, or like oh like I want to be like hanging out with like Shawn Mendes, like driving and like I don't know, like watching
Yeah.
a movie together. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be like on that level, like you have to like you said,
Yeah.
differentiate yourself from like everybody else. And
Right.
like what we found and this may even not be the right answer, but like at least where my heart is right now is like it just all comes down to originality, and like you are most original when you are yourself.
Right. So do you think originality is enough? Because again, like I agree with you guys, and this is something that like as an artist myself, like I have frankly dropped the ball on in terms of like being like, okay, how can I like differentiate myself from like other people? But
It's
like
freaking hard, dude.
it's hard
It
because
is,
originality
it's a challenge.
is great. And when I was listening to you guys, I was like trying to think of a genre to describe it, and I was like, I couldn't really come up with one, honestly, which I think is good. I think it's a really good thing because it means it's not just like I'm not turning it on. I'm like, oh, you know who this sounds like? This sounds like fucking Maroon 5 or like sounds like Taylor Swift or something like that. Like I don't know, it's like indie rock, alt rock, something
speaking
like
of
that.
like how would you
That's
would you classify your guys' music as? Like if you had to pick like a blend of genres.
Like the past 2 singles that we released are like more like indie rocks. Like we just released a single about like a week and a half ago. That,
Here for the first time,
yeah.
Banger.
Hell yeah.
Josh, what a plug. What a
No,
plug.
actually, that was definitely my favorite one.
Hell
Very
yeah.
like just super catchy, just like been in my head for
Thank
a couple
you, man.
days.
Yeah.
And that's off the new album, right?
Yeah, so that's coming
I
out
heard that in the
for
studio
Bob.
also, and when I heard that in the studio, they were like, that wasn't one they were working on, but they were like just playing it on. They were playing it on like a shitty speaker, just
Okay,
like make
I'm
sure it
mad.
kind of stacked up.
get...
Okay, you gotta fucking.
Josh,
I don't know,
where was
man.
the invite?
I-
You didn't. I'm mad.
I literally think I
My
knew you
Lady
for,
on
like, a
Fire
week at that
connection.
point.
Like
Jeez.
what? I wanted to chill.
I think I
Sorry,
literally knew you
boys.
for like a week at that point.
This
is like- this is like a
that's
month and a half ago.
understandable.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
I don't think
I wouldn't have
I didn't
invited
trust you
myself
yet.
either.
I was like, I thought about it. Either way,
friendly.
so indie rock more. But what did you guys start off as?
I think it would definitely be easier talking about like artists that we pull like inspiration from, which is like in a sense even more diverse than like what we could say that our genre is. But like to name a few, it would be, you can help me out, it's gotta be John Mayer, definitely.
Sure.
There's definitely like a super soul funk like influence. I like it's hard to like go as far to say James Brown because like that's so distinctive. But
Right,
like why not say that?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Why not? We'll
One of
throw
the
it in
most
there.
individualistic like artists that there has been. So
Yeah, James Brown's low key the GOAT.
yeah, Scotty toss a third. Would be like a third and fourth one.
Like I'd also say because like it's like bits and pieces of bands. So like for example, like we love Fleet Foxes because like for like
Variety of reasons.
a lot of reasons, but like one being like harmonies. So like we focus on them for harmonies, or like if we're looking at like production style, like we love Daniel Caesar like production style,
Right.
and John Mayer production
And
style.
it's the
Like,
generational aspect of it too, is because like harmonies are also like a huge element of like the way that our music is distinctive, and it's important to like look at the Fleet Foxes interpretation of harmony, but also look at something super like like a Crosby, Stills and Nash song, which is like
those are
full
crazy,
of
yeah.
harmonies. You know what I'm saying? It's the same concept, but like utilized in different ways.
Yeah,
I have to
they
say-
were crazy at those.
Oh, nuts! Yeah.
I am a sucker for a good harmony, and I felt
Yeah.
like even like from the beginning of Juniper, I always felt like you guys definitely had a good sense, and like this might just be my view on it, but I think that definitely stems from your guys' like training throughout high school. And,
I was
like,
Easily,
I was
yeah.
just about to say that. Yeah, just probably the formal like group vocal training.
yeah, for
Probably
sure.
definitely helped that.
Would you say that you are hometown heroes?
Oh God. Do you?
Who you? I don't know. No, no.
I mean, Scooter's Wellesley born and raised, so
yeah, I've lived my whole life. I've lived in the same house, pretty much. Like, it's for the purpose of the story. Yeah, I've lived in the same house like my whole life. Hometown hero? I don't know, because like, the answer is no.
Good. That's the right answer.
That's
good. That's the right answer.
The short
I like
answer
it.
is no.
yeah.
But I hope that like there are kids that know us through like out because we have younger siblings that
Right.
are in the system right now at the public high school
In the system.
and middle school in the system.
The system.
No, but like I
Cracking
think
down.
I hope that like young kids or younger kids who are like super passionate about music are like watching what we're doing and at least feeling like some sort of like hope and like inspiration that like you can do this and like have a lot of fun and like be respected for it.
Yeah.
Because like again, as I mentioned earlier, like like where we grew up is not like there is a big emphasis on performing arts, but there's also a bigger emphasis on like sports
Yeah,
and
for sure.
academics.
Yeah.
And like that is still like super important. But I think like to some people, like there are things that are more important than other things. And so like for someone that's trying to do music, like there needs to be some sort of validation or like something or someone or some group to look up to. And so like
Yeah.
I think it'd be kind of cool. Like if I hope there's a 12-year-old listening to our music right now, and he's like, hell yeah, man! Like I want to.
I'm gonna do this shit one day.
Literally, you know what I mean? Like that's the whole goal. Is I just want to inspire people, dude.
Yeah.
Like to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I second that 100%.
Another quote for the Wikipedia page.
That's so, yeah, you guys are really hyping your Wikipedia page up right now.
I hope the transcriber's still working.
Still.
Yeah, we'll get it working. Someone code that up. I feel like one of my friends should be able to do that.
One of your techie friends?
One of my techie friends. Like, man, computer.
We'll get
I don't
that
fucking
up.
understand
Definitely,
computer science.
We'll get that kickstarted.
We'll get him inserted.
All right, everybody. So that was Juniper the band. Go check them out on all of their socials at Juniper the band on Instagram. Their website too. Full disclosure, I forget what they said their website was, but go check out the rest of the podcast, and I'm sure it's in there somewhere. So Kate and I, we're gonna try something new. We, as we have mentioned many times, and if you've listened at all, you are fully aware of, have very short attention spans. And we got a few listeners now. We've been listening to the feedback, and we realized that our listeners maybe don't have the longest attention spans either. And as Kate, who actually has ADD, and me, who it probably has ADD. I'll self-diagnose a tiny little bit of it to myself right now. We should understand that. We should understand that people don't have the longest attention spans in the world, and thus I don't know why we're releasing hour and 50-minute podcast. That's who has time to listen to that, unless you have like a 2-hour commute in the morning, in which case get a new job. So we are going to start. We're going to try something new. We're going to try breaking these episodes up into 2 parts. Hopefully never 3 parts, but if we do have a really long interview, then maybe we'll break it up into 3 parts. And keep giving us your feedback, because we really appreciate it. So part 2 of this episode coming up later this week. Probably we'll either do like Thursday or Friday, probably, to kind of get you the first half early in the week on Mondays, the second half later in the week. And I hope you enjoy it. We get more into detail about their band, how they got started, and some different things that they hope they're doing soon. And then we play our patented games/segments with the band this time. Maybe a little shit-talking strangers, maybe a little inventor's corner. You'll just have to see. Find out next week, or later this week.